Welcome to City Skylines and the town of Rock Valley. In the first part we laid out the foundation of the town. It's come together really nicely. I'm quite happy with it. It's very gridded, but I think that's a fact of life when you're kicking a city off. And I think what we can do to start with is, I've just noticed I've got a bit of a duff connection up here. I need to sort this out. So otherwise what you're going to get is people not getting into this residential area. Now, one key point here, guys, is pedestrians will not cross highways. They are very law-abiding citizens. So what you need to do really to ensure that residents can get into the industrial area and not use their cars is put a footbridge across, and you can just put it like that, keep it fairly neat and tight. And what you will see is people here will walk into this industrial area. And the other thing I noticed that I didn't build in the last part, which I forgot completely about, is you don't often need to rush for it, but you need to get it in eventually, and that is a cemetery. And cemeteries do have a positive effect on the city. I think maybe we will, it's a bit gruesome, but we'll put it next to the high school, and you can see the immediate effect there. Now, one kind of key tip, guys, is that once your industrial commercial areas start to grow, remember to put services such as crematoriums and health into the industrial commercial areas, because they do have a positive effect. And talking of health, I think we can now get our first health clinic in as well. And I think what we're going to do is just drop it in on here. You can see this is the reason why I left this area out. We've had a nice positive wave here. That means that these buildings will start leveling up. But as you can see here, the core remains education. Now, we've got a little bit of demand for everything, but don't be driven by this, guys. Don't think, I've got to build it demand. As long as you're positive and growing, especially if you're not doing a scenario, just be a bit relaxed about it, guys. What I am going to do is put a little bit more up here, and we're going to come up. I think maybe I'm going to keep the gridded theme going for a little bit longer, because I want to model the city a little bit more in the direction I want it to go now. And the key factor is not to get too carried away, because 26,000 is still not a lot of money, and you really want to kind of keep the road structure going. I think about like that. Road connection there. I think we can just, and what I'm going to do is kind of pull the residential area away from the highway now, because the highways make noise, and you can see here. And eventually what I will have in this probably front row will be offices to suck up the noise. I mean, this is fairly close, and what I'm kind of thinking now is to have a small lightweight commercial area here. Again, until I get the high density, I don't worry too much about kind of the long-term planning. I always kind of think, well, I can always change it when I want. Now, what we're going to do in this industrial area is probably do something a little bit different. And because we've got this kind of area here, and what I want is for my industry to circulate. We've got a little bit of demand for industry, and I want to push the industry out this way. And actually, I think what we'll do is just delete this for the moment. And what I'm actually going to do is use one-way roads, and I'm going to come up here, and I want is this one to go that way, and we're going to come out again that way and that way. But what I'm going to do is reverse the direction of this one, and that creates this kind of, it says where no people have got nowhere to go, which is correct. But what I'm going to do is another one like that, and what that's effectively doing is starting to create a circulatory system here for the industry. And again, I'm not going to come right up to the highway. Just going to put the industry like that. Of course, water. Just going to put that water pipe wasn't exactly 100%, and I think what we can do now is create just I think we'll go two-way for this and here, and of course what we're going to need to do is get a little bit more industry through here. Actually, what we can do just to get a little bit of density going, and this is one of the nice things, see the extra blue line? Do that, it means you've got 4 in that area there. And I think what we can do is just zone up like that, and then that will basically make the power connection between there. And of course it means I don't need these power lines anymore, so they can go. That kind of makes it a bit more neat and tidy on this area. And what I will do just to keep the city growing is we'll keep the commercial theme running up the side of the highway, maybe on this side as well. Now, why have I put one-way roads in here? Well, as it grows up and you see people, trucks coming in to deliver, they always come in and they block the road. And what you actually do by having one-way roads through here, you create a bit of a circuitry system, so that the trucks don't. Watch this truck, and let's see if we can see it come up here, and you can see it's now come up the one-way system. It's going all the way round, but that's not a problem, guys, because it's flowing. You can see here, see where it blocks the road, and then it will go down and out again. Oh no, it's going back that way. Okay, so you can get very efficient industry areas by using one-way roads. This is just a very small example of how it goes. See, obviously most of them want to deliver around here to here. I mean, there are downsides to it, so you don't want to build great big epic ones, but this is going good. You can see here we've now got 39,000. Just check the water. Electricity is okay, water's okay. And what I do need here is another footbridge. Get that in straight away. Because the key element is if you let your residents have direct pedestrian routes to areas, they will walk. And that is a key factor, guys, that you can see here. People will walk over. So if you don't build some form of foot access here, they will use cars. But by doing that, you can actually get your city to grow, and grow quite nicely actually over a period of time. And I've just realised I built this here, and what I really want, I don't know, do we need a roundabout? We could get a roundabout down here, but it'd be like a 3-way roundabout, because I want a road to come into here and a road to kind of come out this way. So we're talking about a road coming through there. And this is what you need to start thinking about now also, guys, is once you've got the core of the city making money, it's growing, it's happy, you can now start to look at other areas. I mean, I'd love to get rid of this if we can build it. Go buy another tile. Can we afford it? Yeah, I think I'm going to buy a tile down here, because I do want to fix this sanitation issue. And what I really want to do, in fact, let's do a bit of hydro engineering, I think, because at the moment we don't really have any flow in these lakes, and I want to get some flow going. I think maybe, but hydro engineering, you've got to be a bit careful when you do this, that terrain management can be very, very expensive. Now, a lot of people use this tool. I prefer to use the level tool for this, and the way to avoid massive flooding is not to go too aggressive, and more importantly, work downstream. So what you do is right click to get a height, then just kind of stroke through like this, and maybe make it a little bit wider. And maybe we can make it a little bit deeper. Just a smidge wider. Yeah. Like that. And the water will now start to flow through. And if you don't go too aggressive, you can actually get away with not flooding. And I want it to look a bit like a river. I don't want it to look like a raging torrent. And what that will do now is that will bring the water flowing down into here. And of course I know this from the playing the trains, the ferry scenario, that this is the exit to the lake. So again, what I'm going to do here is just strike. You can see the lines. That is higher. So what I'm going to do is strike about there, and we're just going to cut through here. This again, high to low, and I just want to create a flow there so that the water's flowing down and out. That keeps the level in the lake. If you go really deep, like again, if I think the contours are on there, if you go down to this depth, you will get a torrent through here, and that would drain your lake. What you want is like an overflow or a sluice, so that the level is maintained in the lake, but you've got water flowing out. And what that will actually now create is a current. And you can see here, and what we're actually going to do now is we'll put a poop pipe down here. It's a long way away, but it's going to be worth it in the long run, guys. And we're going to come up here, we're going to connect it there. Looks like we've got a power shortage coming in, so check, yes, we've got power. And I think what we can do now is, we're going to get the full, we're going to get a couple of these in, go green, plus they're cheaper as well. So, and of course what we're going to do is connect up. It's like this. I mean, it's a big long power line. It's going to cost quite a lot of money to lay in, but we'll be okay, guys. And what that means is that we will now dump the sewage down here, and the reason I'm doing this while I've got a surplus of sewage capability is that I can now pick this one up and bring it down here as well. We can connect this in, and that means that I don't get any major disturbance. You'll get a little bit of disturbance to the city by doing it, but it will work in the long term, guys. And we've now kind of removed our sewage outfall well away from the city, and like, we can't check. I was about to say we could check for ships, but I don't think it's going to tell us because we haven't unlocked the ports. I'm pretty certain the ferry or the external sea connection is down here. So, and the other thing I'd like to do is move this away, and I think what we're going to do is just going to check the flow. Yeah, we've got the sink here, but I think what I'm going to be inclined to have the industrial out here. I think what we might have is forestry out here. So I think we're going to do exactly the same as we did last time. Put that there, and we're going to just connect that in, maybe like that, just to cover the shoreline. Of course, it means we can now connect in power cables like that, and we can move this away. And of course, we're going to have to be very careful to make sure that we connect that up like that. I mean, power cables will disappear over time, and of course what that means is we take away the kind of noise and disruption of this from this corner of the map here, and it kind of opens up the situation for a little bit more growth. And obviously we've got demand for industry, we've got demand. What we can do is put a bit more industry down the back. You can see here I'm getting abandoned buildings. That is probably due to lack of workers, so we'll just delete those just to keep the land terrain up. I mean, there is a mod to auto delete abandoned buildings. Personally, I don't like using it because I use, oh, here we are, Busy Town. So we've now got Busy Town, we've got city planning policies, unique level 4 buildings, leisure, oil specialization, tourism. We've now got free public transport, heavy traffic ban, and Old Town, which is something, and encourage biking. That's my top 3 favourite policies. We've now got access to the more kind of decorative roads, which is what I've been waiting for. If I'm going to use 4-lane roads and kind of these types of roads, I want to use those with the decorative effects. We've now got a far better range of buildings. These are the larger buildings. I don't tend to use them that much in cities. We've now got some additional buildings there. We've got a fire helicopter depot, which we're certainly going to need, even though we haven't got disaster switched on, purely and simply because we're surrounded by trees, and our normal fire department cannot fight forest fires. But at the moment we don't really have the cash to do it because the game's slowed down again. And what I want to do really is start working on a bit of the infrastructure, but I do want to check education. Yeah, I had a feeling education was going down. You've got to kind of stay on top of education. And how's it? Yeah, we're okay for elementary schools. We've got a cemetery in there. We've got this growing. We've got a bit more demand for residential. I think maybe we can, because I've put the high school up here. I think we can kind of come out here, and I think what I'm going to do now is kind of step away from the highway a little bit and just kind of push this up here. Now, another reason I'm not pushing the growth of the city that much and want to expand, because if I come here, I'm pretty sure the next one up, Big Town, which is 6,500, we get the high density. And what I like to do is wait, and we also get my favourite form of public transport, metros and incinerators. So what I kind of do is like keep the city growing and developing during this phase till I get to 6,500. I get access to those key buildings, and that's when I start really shaping the city for what I want to look for, because those are quite key buildings. And I think what I'm going to do now is talk a little bit about public transport, but before we do that, what I'm going to do is get my favourite policies in there, but we're going to need to improve that. And it's in city planning, and what I like to whack in, heavy traffic ban, these don't cost anything, encourage biking, that doesn't cost anything, and Old Town. And what that effectively does is, if I now expand this, you will notice as I build the cities that this will cover my virtually all my residential areas will have districts with those 3 policies in. The reason is encouraging biking means that what happens is your residents will travel further without using cars, and what the other 2 policies, Old Town, effectively does is it stops rat runs and heavy traffic. So if you do make a mistake and accidentally create a situation where trucks will come through your residential areas, that will keep them out, but it won't affect the flow of the traffic, and it won't stop your residents using the traffic and the public transport, but it will stop any kind of accidental rat runs that you may create when you're laying the city out. So that's the reason why I do it. And we've got a bit more industrial, and I think what I want to do now is I was saying that I really want to start working on the things. So I think what we're going to do is, so I don't want too much heavy industry down in this area, but at the same time I'm quite happy to have industry down here, and I want part of this to be commercial, so I kind of want that here. So maybe what we will do here is come just here like that, and what we're going to do is make this into forestry. So we're going to start getting a little bit of a forestry industry going in the background here, and maybe we'll to come up here. I mean, I'm not going to go massively over the top with the specializations. Don't create vast areas of them. A few small areas like this. In fact, what I've mapped out will probably be the entire forestry area for the entire city. But the advantage with forestry is the fact that you will have a kind of cleaner environment. Eventually I will probably convert this to forestry actually, and push the heavier industry to here and to here. And what we'll probably do is bring the commercial out here. So I will be reshaping these zones in the future. But I think getting some forestry up and running straight away will be quite useful. In fact, I think what we're going to do is come out another one. And another reason for having diversified industry is the fact that if you're going to build a very, very large city, if you start producing the goods internally, what will happen is that it will reduce the amount of traffic and imports that will be brought into your city, which is, for a city like this with only one entrance, is going to be quite important. And again, like education, this is something you want to build up over time. Yeah, I had a feeling that was going to be a bit, kind of wonked it out over there. And I think you can just come through like that. So we've now got a little bit of industry going. We've sorted the water problems out. Got our water flow running through here quite nicely. I mean, I'm not that inclined to open this up for ferries. I'm quite interested. I mean, what I'm thinking is that we'll probably have a monorail running into here. This area here, maybe connect this up and kind of get, yeah, let's do this, guys. Again, you can see the difference in height. Just strike off here with the right mouse button, and then we'll just cut through here. Maybe we'll make this a little bit wider. And you can see the backflow. This one's obviously, the difference between these two lakes isn't quite as high as with the others, which is slightly concerning. So what I'm going to do is close that up a bit. I think I went a little bit too deep there, guys. I think that would be better, because I do want the water flowing down, because if you go too deep you can get a backflow, and instead of getting a kind of a little bit of an aesthetic running like that with river, you can see the difference with the heights there is not quite so dramatic. And what I do want is for the water to flow through here. You can see here the flow here is not quite so strong, and of course we've got all this poop stuff up here, and there is a way to get rid of this, guys, and I think I'm going to use it. I think I've got access to it now. Is we're going to drop that in, say, about there, and I'm just going to connect that to there, and of course we need power. What this will do is, if you actually look here, it says the freshwater outlet lets excess water produced by the city, and what that will do is it will, because we're creating a massive amount of water overflow at the moment. In fact, we're way over the top. We could probably reduce the budget a bit, because we're way over the top. But the surplus will now flow into here, and what that will create is a flow of water that will run down to here, that will eventually push this stuff down here, where so that it can actually start to drain away. You can see this is actually spread up. I think the flow out of here is probably not as strong. Maybe I need to make this a little bit deeper. So maybe we'll create this into, give this a bit more flow. Sorry, this is turned into slightly into a a hydro engineering project, but I think maybe if we get a bit more flow out of here, get a bit more current, that will take the crud water away. Yeah, so as I say, what you want to do, guys, is take it gentle. Don't rush it when you play with water. Yeah, we've got a bit more flow now. That should start to pull this, create a bit more current up here, and pull this. So rather than get a backflow, yeah, you can see now. I mean, if it's still not strong enough, we will deepen it. I mean, we could put a canal in there. In fact, what we might do eventually is have a canal down here, so we could effectively have a ferry terminal down here. I mean, that could be fun, is to get a passenger terminal here and then put a ferry terminal next to it, and then the people can come up on the ferry terminal. But that's all for the future, guys. Need to keep an eye on the time. Maybe we can go for a little bit longer, because another thing I want to kind of put in here is public transport. And at the moment, the only public we've got ferries. I'm not really particularly that interested in ferries. We've got trams. Trams are pretty expensive, and I prefer to use trams in high density areas. So what we're actually going to start with is a bus route. Now, I want to talk a little bit about public transport and buses. And let's get here. Start with buses, you need a bus depot. Now, this doesn't actually do anything to do with the routes. I'm just trying to think of somewhere to put it. What I like is to have the bus depot fairly close. I mean, it's a bit hooky. I think maybe we can drop it just this side of the highway. I mean, now bus depots provide buses. They're not part of the main network, and you need to put them somewhere close. Again, same as the garbage. Actually, need to check the garbage collection. How are we actually doing for garbage? Sorry for the distraction, guys. Landfill site 33%. Well, we're doing okay at the moment. I think I can hang on in there till we get to incinerators. Yeah, you need to keep bus depots close to a road connection so the buses can get out to the routes easily. So don't put bus depots over here, so they've got to go all the way through the industrial area. And the other thing with bus routes, sorry, I keep saying bus depots, is the fact that you don't want buses and trams in your industrial areas. And I think what I like to do is use buses through residential areas, connecting up things like schools. I don't understand why is that going that way. I don't want that. I certainly don't want buses on my main highway. Again, keep the stops fairly spread out. You don't need lots and lots of stops close together. And as I say, what I like to have is buses that are kind of feeding in to schools, especially universities. And I think this can go back. Again, when you place bus stops, don't put them opposite each other like that, because if you get two buses stopping each other, they will do it. And again, another little trick here, guys, if you've got a road like that with another one parallel, which is another advantage of grids, is you can actually offset the buses so that you don't get lots of buses. Like again here, that one goes that way. So what we can do is just put a bit of variety in. I think we get a bus stop there, and see again there was a temptation to, and maybe we'll just one there, and maybe we've got a high school here, so we might as well have there. Of course, it always pays to colour the bus routes or public transport routes so you can see what they are. Green and orange. Now, main reason I use bus routes is you can see the problem straight away. So again, another thing I like to do is I actually drop the budget for buses. I think the normal budget just puts too many on the road. You can see here they've already caused congestion. because there's far too many for the route really, and hopefully some of them will start to go back to the depot. You can see here they start following each other. So we got, so you can see here, in fact I think I'm going to drop the budget even lower, because, and this is the reason why you do not put bus routes into industrial areas, because you can see here with industry area, if we follow this industrial area, it's getting a bit hazy from the pollution. When we watch, you see the trucks delivering. If you've got buses coming through here as well, they pile up behind the trucks delivering. Before long, it will reduce your traffic to chaos. You can see here. It takes a little while here, but the blue ones here are the ones that are going to return to depot, and hopefully they will kind of, eventually the buses will spread out a bit, but for me I'm not. So what you should see is when these buses come here, I don't know why he's parking here. You can see it's already blocking my garbage trucks up, which is a pain in the neck, and you can see that blue bus now is going to return to the depot because it's surplus to requirements. There we are. It's coming back to the depot. There's another one coming back to the depot. But eventually, once these actually get out of the way, you will see that the buses will start to spread out round. I think this is why these delay. The idea is this one gets away and there, but you can see they're kind of following each other around the city. But you can see, like, you can see the reason why I don't feel I need buses into this area, because you've got lots of people walking through here, and of course I've now got the effect. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is put that down for the city. Encourage biking is a good citywide policy. It doesn't cost anything. Well, as far as I know, it doesn't cost anything. Let's have a quick look. No. It says here, when in policies, the most citizens will prefer bicycles over motor vehicles. And that is a good policy to whack down straight away. And we've already got a power shortage now. Power shortages are always shown from the furthest point away from where they are. So again, I'm just going to drop a couple of these in. That should, maybe we need a bit more power there. And of course that will automatically be affected by sewage. The reason for that is because my sewage is down here, right a vast amount away from the city. This will always be the first one affected, and a good kind of way to do it, we've got plenty of cash, is if you drop a wind turbine in there and connect it that way, what will happen is the power from this wind turbine will always go to the sewage pumps first before flowing up into the city. In fact, I think what I will be doing is developing this area as a kind of a power center away from the city, and maybe eventually I will move these down to here as well. See, I'm still not totally happy with the sludge, but I'll just check this flow. I'm still not happy with this. I think it is drawing water here. Maybe we can make this a little bit more deeper, make this a little bit more aggressive, get a bit more of flowing in, and I think maybe strike that there, and we'll make this a bit, maybe a little bit wider. Get a bit more flow through here, just so that we can flush that sewage and that out. Actually, could I go for it, guys? Should we put a ferry link through here? Now, I think we can have a wide shallow. Do I want a wide shallow one or medium shallow one? Not, I think a shallow canal here. Come through here. Or that. And you can see here, this is where you can get flooding, but I'm not worried. And what we're going to do, come out a little bit like that. And this is where you get the flooding sometimes, because you'll see that you will get a backflow. As this water flows in, the water will collide in the center. This is why you will get flooding, because as the water collides, like it would do in reality, is if you get two opposing waves hit each other, you will get a surge. That's what causes storm surges. And I think we can run with that. The canals, I like the idea that the canal's quite deep, because that will actually mean that this will look more like a natural crossing when the ferries go through. Yeah, I think I like that. I mean, if it doesn't work, I can always change it. That's the advantage. Yeah, you can see now we've got quite an aggressive flow coming in through here. Maybe I was a bit kind of wishy-washy. I think I'm quite happy to leave this looking like a river. I think we probably will eventually have a ferry terminal connection through here. I don't think I mean, we can check. Yeah, you can see here, it's actually, the yellow lines are the ferry lines. So that means we've definitely got a ferry connection through there. And actually that looks quite nice actually, because the ferry, the actual channel is actually hidden by the flow of the water. And this should now really make the flow through here quite aggressive, because we've now got this water flowing here. The trouble is it's going to pack up this area a bit more here. See here, see the water flowing up into this area, but hopefully that will stabilize in its own effect. And of course any surplus should now run off this way. We may get flooding down here, but again, if necessary, we'll widen the channel. And I've kind of completely neglected the city with that diversion, guys, but you can see it's not a problem. The city's still going. Well, I mean, yes, we're losing a little bit of population. Maybe I need to just to round this part off, guys. I'm aware that I've gone on a little bit too long, and I think maybe we'll just rely on the good old-fashioned grid to get a bit of things that maybe will come out one more, and then eventually we will put some decorative roads along this edge here, and we're just gonna zone up this whole area through here like that. And of course we're going to need water, so let's get some plumbing in. 60 down here like that, and that's awful. I certainly don't want that. Yeah, it's going to run all the way through like that, and that should suck up the power. And just to, as I say, just to wind this part up, guys, I'm aware that I'm over time, and I think what we can do is get commercial here. I'm leaving these sound barriers, which will be eventually used for the offices. We'll drop some, eventually we'll have offices in here, and I think what we can do is drop some commercial out the back of here. Well, just kind of chip in a little bit like this. In fact, we could probably come through there, because I can't see me building a road here. I don't know, maybe we will. We'll get here. And you can see the source now is starting to work a little bit of overtime here, because we're losing so much water out here. So the water level from this lake is dropping. So you're getting this surge of water out of here. So you can actually see the source working now. And again, what we can do is just offset that a little bit more by coming here. I think I will deepen this a little bit more. I think if we come there and we cut through like that and open this up a little bit more, trees will disappear eventually anyway, guys. In fact, I don't want to put a channel through here. I think maybe we can do this quite effectively by doing that. And that's now going to open up a lot more flow into this area. And then that should slow up this source, because the water coming out of here will be slower than that area there. Anyway guys, I'm very aware that I've gone over time. I was intended to keep these to about half an hour, but obviously I'm over time again. So this is where I'm going to leave it, guys. In the next part, we want to definitely start working on the aesthetics of the city and expanding it and getting it to grow, and hopefully we will get to this target. This is the key target. You can see here we get blimps, we get metros, and 6,500 is the magic number for really building a large city. That gives you access to some very key services and resources that allows you then to start kind of building the city that you really want. This at the moment is just a growth city to get the cash flowing in. We see we got 250,000, so we're doing very well. We're putting on 9,000 a month, and once we get the high density, that's when we're going to really start growing the city out, giving it its shape and character. So this is where I'm going to leave it, guys. Hope you've enjoyed the episode, hope you found it interesting, and until next time, whatever you do, enjoy your gaming.